So now I have my basic figure very lightly sketched onto my black paper, and it's a little hard to see on the black paper, but that's okay. We're gonna go over it with all of our chalk. The reason we don't draw your figure with a white pencil is because the artwork doesn't have a white outline the whole way around it. That's where we kind of make mistakes, and we do things, we outline things where you don't really want an outline. Sometimes we work around an outline to give your object kind of like a fake outline. So what you're gonna do next is focus in on one area to start. I generally like to start on the eyes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull it up really big so that I can really just kind of hone in on what are the different values or shades of white, black, and gray that I need to put in this eye to make it look like this one. If I keep my iPad really close to my picture, not only can I see is my shape correct, but now I'll be able to really easily use my materials a little easier. So here's where we start to break things down into just basic making marks. If I'm looking at this eyeball, what I notice is there's a lot of black around the outside. There's a semi-white, like a not real bright white ring. Then you move into another black line, then part of the iris, that would have been like the color of my dog's eyes, the black pupil, and then there's a really bright white little dot, that's the reflection. So I'm gonna put all of those things in this eye, and I'm gonna start with these white rings first. So I'm gonna go lightly. Remember, you can always push harder to brighten it up, but for starting off, I would go lighter. Your white pencils do erase. So don't, if you make a mistake, don't worry that you can't erase it. Just go ahead and kind of work in what you see there. There's my first white one. Then I have another one right about here. So I'm gonna start here, put that in. Now, your black paper is black. However, it's sometimes not as black as the darks in this. So that's where the black and white chalks that I gave you guys in your baggie come into play. So I'm gonna make this white mark here. I'm gonna go ahead back with my black chalk, and I'm gonna put some of it in right underneath this eye because it's super dark right there. And in the direction of his hair, it's starting to go this way. So I'm just gonna kind of mark it like that. If you have a Q-tip at home, you can use a Q-tip, or you can just use your finger and just kind of smudge it in the direction of the hair. When you're working with animals, or people for that matter, what's very, very important to make this accurate is to work in the direction of the hair. That texture always goes a certain way. As you can see, these lines are going this way, around his eye, they're going up and around, and there's little strokes coming down here, and that's what creates the hair texture. So it is a good bit of work. We're gonna work little by little and kind of build our picture out. All right, so I started putting the black in there. I'm gonna go ahead and put some black inside the eye. Again, we're trying to make sure the shapes are pretty correct. And in some small areas, it is hard to get in with your finger. So I would suggest if you have like a little stick or Q-tip, it does work a little better. And then there is some black in between those two white marks that I made too. So I'm going to very carefully try and put that in. That comes the whole way up around. And then he's got some black shading going on over here as well, kind of branches out. Okay. Now, your whitest marks that you can make aren't with the pencil, but they're with the chalk. The chalk is going to give you the brightest whites. So I am going to put that reflection in. They're really important for the eyeballs. I'm just going to kind of use my chalk and make a little dot mark, something as close as I can get, kind of pushing hard to put that in. And then I'm also going to use my chalk. This is a really good way, if you don't want to use pencil over the whole thing, is to kind of use your chalk. I'm going to make the lines. In some places where it's very, very vivid white, where you don't really see a lot of the marks, I'm just going to kind of color, I don't want to say color, but in the direction of the hair, I'm going to kind of put my bright whites in. And then where it fades, like this is kind of gray, I'm going to keep it really bright here. I'm not really going to smudge it too much, but I am going to start to smudge it down to create a gray color over here. There's little tiny hairs. I don't know if you guys can see that. So I'm just gonna kind of tap it on my paper And I'm just gonna work my way around. So I want you guys, I know this seems challenging, and we do this in class. Last year, actually, we've been doing this for a number of years because it's really successful if you just take your time. Once you get started with chalk, it does move pretty quickly, but what's really important is that you work in little sections. So you're always looking at what's there. You are not drawing things that you don't see. If like again, with our upside down drawing, your brain wants to tell you one thing, but what I want you to use is strictly your eyes and looking at solid marks of color, in solid lines and shapes. So again, up here at the top of his head where it's as bright as possible, all I have to do is color that in as bright as possible. For a lot of my dog's hair, I don't even have to use a pencil. I can use this chalk. And when you need to get to the gray, what's kind of cool is that you can just kind of smudge it to create gray, or like kind of dab it like I'm doing with my finger. Or you can blend. You can use this black, like where I have a shadow going on under here, I can kind of go in and work my black in. And I'll take some of the black that's on my finger and I can make, another shade of gray as needed there. You can erase the chalk. You can color over the chalk. You really can't mess it up. So don't be afraid to, use it, go in, clean things up. You can even use your eraser to make marks. So if I want more hair texture, I can go in, and this isn't quite accurate there, but I can make marks with the eraser to create texture that way as well. So I'm gonna keep working on this. And if you guys have any questions, we'll be on Meet throughout the week on this project. So you can just kind of log in with me, show me where you're at, and I can kind of help you a little bit better step by step.